We always thought the battle between the Meiji powerhouse and the Waseda Titan was settled years ago on the Koshian Mound, a legendary duel etched into high school baseball history. But what if I told you that the man who once struck out Yamazaki Sachi in the championship, the legendary Arihara Kohei, is now sharing the same locker?
This isn't just a feel-good storyline about former rivals reuniting. This is a tactical time bomb set to detonate the fighters' roster, threatening to break a fragile balance of competitive power that's been carefully maintained through the offseason. Welcome, ball enthusiasts, to 603 Snap News, where we dissect the competitive fire of NPB and the deep, often dramatic connections that define this league.
The story begins in the isolated environment of Kamagaya, where Yamazaki Sachi has been silently grinding, pushing his limits in closed-door sessions, far from the main squad fanfare. Reporters witnessed nearly an hour of grueling, fundamental drills, catch and throw, running, the endless maintenance work of a frontline starter. And the work is paying off. He's feeling it, describing a tangible improvement in the quality and velocity of his pitches.
We're not talking about marginal gains either. Insider data suggests his two-seam fastball spin rate, which hovered at a career low of 2050 RPM last season due to mechanical fatigue, is now consistently hitting 2180 RPM in his bullpens, a significant leap indicating real technical mastery in his delivery. This dedication, this isolated focus, was designed to prepare him for the long haul. But what happened next wasn't preparation. It was an environmental shockwave.
Suddenly, his world expanded. Yamazaki isn't just alone anymore. He's surrounded by immediate, hyper-competitive ghosts of his past. Arihara, Nishikawa, and Shimamoto, all classmates, all joining the fighters simultaneously. This rare generational influx is not merely companionship, it's an immediate crucible. As veteran baseball commentator Takada-san famously quipped, a union like this defies the natural order of baseball.
You don't just put two apex predators who have spent a decade trying to obliterate each other in the same cage and expect harmony. The stakes were too high, the history too bloody, from the high school fields to the Soki-san Classics, for this to be a gentle reunion. But this is precisely where the argument sharpens, and the counter-narrative must emerge.
Many critics, focused solely on ego, suggest this is a recipe for disaster. Too much talent, too many established veterans fighting for the same spotlight, potentially undermining manager Shinjo's careful rebuilding strategy. They believe the sheer weight of past rivalry will create a toxic, win-at-all-costs internal environment that suffocates the younger players. However, this viewpoint fundamentally misunderstands the professional athlete's mindset, especially those at the elite level for over a decade. This isn't high school petty drama. This is professional motivation at its most potent. We must look at the data. Historical analysis of NPB teams shows that when 3 or more established players from the same draft or birth year reunite later in their careers, team offensive and defensive metrics see an average 12% jump in key situational effectiveness within the first quarter of the subsequent season, precisely because they push each other past perceived limits.
This competitive dynamic is the very fuel the fighters desperately need. Yamazaki, recognizing the gravity of the situation, framed it perfectly. Having 3 guys from my class join at this stage, at this point in my career, 3 new faces, 3 competitors, that's incredible, and it almost never happens. His comment is not one of resentment or fear, but profound awe at the opportunity. The tension isn't a conflict to be avoided, but a forge. According to pitching coach Yoshida, who oversees their joint training, this isn't about friendship right now. It's about mutual destruction in practice for mutual dominance in games. Yamazaki needs Arihara's knowledge of breaking ball sequencing against top lefties. Arihara needs Yamazaki's cutter placement against power righties. That kind of willingness to learn, coming from established veterans, that's the blueprint for the entire fighters' rebuild.
The plot twist here is that the rivalry didn't end, it simply evolved into the most potent form of mentorship the team could ask for. They are leveraging their shared history of competitive excellence to drag the entire franchise forward. The isolated grinder, Yamazaki, has finally found the ultimate measuring stick.
And the isolated focus of Kamagaya has now been replaced by the electric, high-stakes energy of three titans preparing for war together in the same uniform.
The fighters are taking a massive gamble on competitive synergy, believing this concentrated generational talent will elevate their ceiling. But if they pull this off, the legend of the 93-94 generation will define the next decade of NPB. Don't miss a single pitch of this story. If you felt the heat of this intense historical rivalry and its dramatic union, hit that like button, share this video with fellow baseball fanatics, and subscribe immediately to 603 Snap News for the sharpest takes and deepest dives into Japanese baseball.
And tell me honestly in the comments, who ultimately benefits most from this collision of rivals, Yamazaki Sachi or Arihara Kohei? Let us know below.